And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this live update on the 12th of July and coming live to you from Brisbane. Well, right now we have the weather which is 15 degrees and mostly sunny. So it is wonderful to see that weather. It's a long time since we've had 15 degrees, and it is good to see that. And it is going to be a beautiful and mostly sunny day here in Brisbane. And we will be joining with the Premier very, very soon. But right now, as we know, the big news is about Italy and how it's won the title with some penalty kicks. Will bring to you all those updates as they become handy. And as we know that last night many people were awake till late, looking at those visions. Well, right now, congratulations to Barty. What a wonderful and what an amazing win, and our Brisbane girl doing us all very, very proud. Here's the message from our Premier.
Can I just do a big shout out to Ash Barty? Congratulations, Wimbledon champion. I know this was your dream from the days when you used to play with Jimmy Joyce out at Richlands in the Southwest Tennis Centre, to winning the girls Wimbledon back in 2011 to now winning the women's Wimbledon. We are so proud of you, a great Queenslander. All the very best, Ash. You deserve this. Well done.
Well, of course, she has done really, really well and done everyone proud, and it is a wonderful moment for all of us here in Brisbane. Well, right now, let's move on with some of the news and take a look at what's all been happening. Well, first, let's go to New South Wales.
We're not coming out of this on Friday, are we?
Well, we always have to assess the health advice, but I think it's pretty plain to see that the numbers are not going in the right direction at this point in time, and I want the community to be prepared for that. I've foreshadowed that for a few days. As soon as we have health advice that gives us information on where the numbers are tracking and what we think the future looks like, we'll of course convey that. We always do that. As soon as we know or have a sense of where the data is going, we of course let the community know. But obviously at this point in time, the contact tracers have uncovered a number of chains of transmission, and were it not for the lockdown, it would have been really hard to identify those. But because we know that people are moving in certain communities in a particular way, our contact tracers have been able to stay a step ahead. And that is the whole point of the lockdown.
Premier, this lockdown is scheduled to end on Friday. Businesses need a plan. So is your plan to extend the lockdown week by week, or will you come up with, I suppose, a long-term plan to give residents and business owners some certainty?
No, look, that's a great question, and we always want to provide enormous certainty to our community, not just businesses, but for parents, for any individual to be able to plan ahead, and we certainly will provide that advice as soon as we receive it. But I also do want to stress that the length of time of the lockdown is dependent on all of us. If people don't leave home unless they absolutely have to, we'll come out of this sooner rather than later. But that's why I want to leave the door open to the advice we provide. It really depends on how quickly we can turn the numbers around. But given where we're at, and given the lockdown was supposed to be lifted on Friday, I think everybody can tell that it's highly unlikely.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, right now we will go to Queensland Parliament and join the Premier as he comes live.
too. Can I also say that Queenslanders are with you during this time. We know it would be a very difficult time. Felt warm wishes to all the families living in Greater Sydney at the moment. Finally, I just wanted to mention the news about the NRL. So, had a great conversation yesterday afternoon with Peter V'landys and Andrew and Kate, and I'm very pleased that Queensland is prepared to facilitate the moving of a number of teams here to Queensland, initially for the next 2 months of the competition, but we'll see how that's going. The NRL also asked if the family members can move. This is very hard on families with the NRL players. They will be in their distinct hubs, so we are facilitating that the immediate family members can move with them, and they will be in those tied hubs, and it's up to the NRL to police that, but we'll be monitoring that very closely as well. So that's great news. We are happy to facilitate that. And of course, we also have the third State of Origin to be held on the Gold Coast. And I really want to thank the Mayor, Tom Tate, and the NRL for helping to facilitate that. And I can confirm that that has cost taxpayers $0. That is purely about assisting the NRL at this stage for the State of Origin. So, look, we're happy to have that on the Gold Coast, and of course we do wish our team all the best on Wednesday. So I'll hand over to Dr Young. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier. So one new case in hotel quarantine, a traveller who recently returned from South Africa, and they were in the hotel the whole time, so there's no risk at all to the community. No new cases in the community. Our last person was infectious in the community a week ago on the 5th of July, which is why, although we can't say we're totally free of any risk going forward, essentially, as long as everyone who's out there in home quarantine remains in home quarantine and has their exit tests at day 12, then we can be very, very confident that we don't have any transmission in our community. So that's all excellent news. Thank you.
Oh, we have seen fantastic results since that snap lockdown the week before last, and it's great that our businesses, particularly our hospitality businesses, will be able to return to a lower level of restrictions on Friday, the lowest level of restrictions they've had throughout this whole pandemic. As you've heard, Sydney continues to be the greatest national concern, and we will monitor the border situation day by day. While Greater Sydney remains locked down and their cases remain within that locked down area, we don't need to close the border just yet. But it is, as the Premier said, absolutely critical that any Queenslanders who are currently in New South Wales monitor the situation very closely, and I would urge them to come home if they possibly can. Just to provide some context to the situation in Sydney, at our peak in March last year, on the 24th of March last year, we reported 78 new community cases. That was the largest single day of community cases. Yesterday, New South Wales reported 77, and we understand they expect to report more today. So we all need, for the sake of the nation, we all need Sydney to get on top of these outbreaks. One way we can assist them is by ensuring that they can all have footy to watch on TV, and that's why we're happy to work with the NRL to ensure that their games can continue, starting with Origin this weekend, but then more regular season games from there with the teams that have been relocated. I just want to give a very brief update on our small business support measures that are in our economic recovery plan. We have now provided more than $180 million of small business COVID adaptation grants to 20,530 businesses, and there are still grants available for regional businesses under that program. We have $1 billion in job support loans that have supported 7,000 businesses and 86 6,000 local jobs. That's where we provide Queensland businesses with low interest loans of up to $250,000. We did provide payroll tax relief worth $950 million, electricity rebates of $500 for small and medium businesses, and in May the Small Business Minister launched Queensland Small Business Month with 3 new grant programs worth $25 million over 2 years, and all of those go to supporting Queensland businesses so that they can employ more Queenslanders and keep more Queenslanders in work.
So thank you to all of those people staying at home for home quarantine. It is essential that they stay home until Queensland Health has given them the all clear, including their exit testing on day 12. We've got 4,158 people currently quarantining at home, and these people are making the sacrifice on behalf of all of us by staying home and not moving around the community to make sure that we have no more community transmission cases. So, as you've heard this morning, great news, we are on track to lift our restrictions and once again have the lowest restrictions in the country as of 6 a.m. Friday. And we just remind everyone that the restrictions remain until then. The wearing of the mask, social distancing, hygiene, importantly staying home if you're unwell and going and get tested. And we'd like to see our testing numbers stay high, so please, if you have any sort of sniffle or sore throat, cough, please go get tested just to be sure and to keep everyone safe. Now, I do need to report that we are awaiting our next delivery of vaccines from the Commonwealth. We are getting 64,500 tomorrow and another 62,000 on Thursday. Until this new delivery arrives, we have very limited stock across Queensland. That stock is reserved for bookings. So if you do walk in to any of our vaccination hubs over the next couple of days, it is highly unlikely you may not get a vaccine or you will be waiting a very long time. So I just wanted to put that shout out so people are aware that we are waiting for that next delivery from the Commonwealth. To give you an example, the RBWH on the weekend had only 15 doses extra for walk-ins each day. So if you are due for your second dose and you do not have a booking already, please ring 134 COVID. We have booking spaces reserved for second doses. So although you may not see that booking slot online, we have booking slots reserved for second doses. But we do want you to book to make sure you don't miss out. So please ring 134 COVID. And when we get that extra supply on Tuesday, we expect to be able to build up capacity from Wednesday again. So we ask all the public to be patient with us while we wait for these vaccines to arrive from the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Good morning. In the last 24 hours, we've handed out 84 masks. That brings to the total for the period that we've had the restrictions in place 1,564 masks handed out. At our road borders, we intercepted 2,369 vehicles and turned around only 2, which is very good. At our domestic air borders, 1,286 persons were intercepted, 3 turned around and 84 into quarantine, so that number has gone up, as would be expected with the hotspot in Sydney. International borders, we saw 130 persons arrive yesterday, which takes our total hotel quarantine numbers to 2,829, with 2,178 of them being international arrivals. Very pleased to say that in the last 24 hours we've had to take no enforcement action whatsoever across the state, which is great, although a couple of matters do remain under investigation. Can I also support what the Minister's just said, that it is not over until 6 a.m. Friday. We did see when the lockdown eased that some people did go early, so the message from we and the police is don't go early because there are consequences and we need you to abide by the current restrictions until 6 a.m. Friday. Thank you.
What would it take to trigger a hard-door closure?
So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, up to date on Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times. Well, right now, let's move on to the next of the news. And as we know, that the lockdown in Sydney, New South Wales is going to be probably extended. Let's have a look and see what that's going to.
I can't stress enough that every time we risk breaking the rules or even just going about our business and not getting tested when we need to, the people whose lives and health that we're risking the most are those closest to us. It's quite stark and telling that more than 50 out of the 77 cases overnight were close family members of the person who had the virus. And regrettably that trend will continue, and given the number of people exposed in the community overnight, I'm anticipating the numbers in New South Wales will be greater than 100 tomorrow. Now that's what I'm anticipating, and I'll be shocked if it's less than 100 this time tomorrow of additional new cases. So we can't stress enough the importance of not only following the rules, but also realising the risk that the people who will suffer the most is, if you don't worry about yourself, that's fine, even though it's affecting people of all age groups. If you don't worry about yourself, that's your decision, but think about your closest family members, your closest people in your life. They're the people that are most impacted.
Quite rightly said that, if you're not worried about yourself, think about everyone else around you. Think about the wider community, the broader community, and work always in the best interest of the community and everyone else, and never be selfish, even though, everyone's health is very, very important. Well, talking about health, let's hear from Australian Medical Association's president and see what he has to say on the situation.
What we're seeing is the numbers going exactly the way we didn't want them to go. They're continuing to go up, although we do have to recognise that we are seeing cases from 5-6 days ago now being reflected in the numbers. So the next 2 to 3 days will be absolutely critical to see whether the new extended restrictions are actually working, or do the numbers continue to go the wrong way, in which case New South Wales is going to have to go another step to actually really severely limit people's movement in order to get on top of the virus. It cannot be let to continue like this, because the bigger the numbers, the less chance contact tracers will be able to get ahead of the virus.
So in your opinion, we perhaps need to go even further than we currently are with our lockdown restrictions?
If the numbers don't start to look better in the next 2 to 3 days, absolutely. If they keep going up, then they're just going to keep going up. You have to change something, and at the moment, probably the only lever left is really to force the closure of all retail and other businesses that aren't absolutely essential in order to get those numbers actually to start trending downwards rather than continuing to climb.
Okay, well, among the latest developments, we have 52 people in hospital and 1 person has now died in this latest outbreak. What do you make of the cases that we're seeing which require medical treatment? Largely they are people who aren't fully vaccinated, and of course a lot of younger people.
Yeah, it is interesting to see younger people ending up in hospital. We've seen it overseas, and it's a little different to what we saw with the Victorian outbreak, with the vast bulk of people getting severely ill being those in those elderly years. The hospitalisation rate is 10%, which is really high, and of course, tragically, we've seen a death as well as some young people seriously ill in the intensive care unit. So I'm not sure there's a bigger wake-up call for anybody around the country as to just how severe this virus is, and even in a lockdown it is continuing to spread. That's why it's absolutely critical that people go out and get vaccinated. It's the only way to protect themselves and to protect the country from what's unfolding.
Protect themselves and protect the country as well is, get that vaccination done as soon as you can. Well, talking about the vaccinations, they are talking about a new vaccine that might soon be made available as well. There is always that big rush. And once again, good morning and welcome to you, JP Soni. He says he always, every morning he tunes in and listens to the program. Bahut shukriya. Wonderful to see that. Well, right now, let's take a look at what else is happening in this vaccine scene and the race to find, would there be another vaccine possibly?
These little dots mightn't look like much, but scientists hope they might help the development of new COVID-19 vaccines.
The dark area is the important regions.
They represent fragments of proteins found in coronavirus.
I think we got really good yield.
These scientists are trying to find out which ones are the most stable.
Because these fragments are found within different versions of COVID-19, they have a huge potential to be made into a second-generation vaccine.
Second-generation COVID vaccines will be needed to give us longer immunity, a bit like the annual flu shot.
We found more than 90% of the fragments we identified were also found in the global COVID-19 virus.
The vaccines that are currently available teach the body's immune system how to recognise the spike protein of the coronavirus so it can fight the infection. But in newer strains, the spikes aren't as stable and are slightly different, making it harder for the body to recognise and fight the infection. It's also why Pfizer is seeking emergency approval in the United States for a booster dose. Its current vaccine is struggling to keep people protected against the Delta strain.
We're going to be battling those variants for, I suspect, for years.
Scientists at the Westmead Institute for Medical Research hope their vaccine will be able to recognise other proteins associated with all known variants.
So that we won't have to stimulate people with different types of boosters every year or so.
We've got a sheet of human cells.
In Australia, the Doherty Institute is also investigating 4 potential new vaccines, while the University of Queensland is working on a vaccine that comes in a patch, like those used to help people quit smoking.
It's a vaccine patch. You only have to put it on for 10 seconds and it produces an immune response through the cells going to your lymph nodes.
One of the biggest hurdles of the vaccine rollout has been a lack of supply. That's why it's crucial any new vaccines can be manufactured on shore.
That will be the case, that we will see that there will be a lot more developments as we go along. There will be some side effects that might be, discovered way down the track. And of course, the research will be ongoing, as has been the case with the flus, and of course, like with the eradication of polio, and of course, when we look at cancer, the common cancer, have we found a cure for that as yet? So this will be an ongoing thing, and of course there will be people who will and scientists who will discover more ways, some better ways, and booster vaccines, as they have said there as well. And of course, in that last report, it was mentioned that University of Queensland, and of course we know that Queensland government invested a lot of money and gave a big, huge grant to University of Queensland for that research into the vaccine. But I think the project in its initial stages was put on a hold while AstraZeneca got approval, and then Pfizer came in. But now they're working on that patch. So any work that's done in the area is work which is going towards research and development. And of course, we know there can never be enough, and it will be ongoing, as we have mentioned before. Well, right now, looking at all the vaccine and COVID, there are some seminars that are taking place which have already started talking about way and life beyond the pandemic. But during this pandemic, what has been happening in the job scene? What sort of job numbers have we looked at? Have we actually created more jobs? Funny enough, even though many businesses are doing tough, other businesses are doing very well. I mean, people have more money because they are not spending on overseas travel. That means they are investing, or they have spare money to invest into the local economy. Well, let's take a look at the job numbers and see what's happening with jobs during this pandemic.
We often read stories about mass redundancies, but not the opposite of that, mass openings. Well, stay tuned. That's what this story is about. The number of job vacancies is the highest since the Bureau of Statistics started measuring them in 1979, 362,500. And there's been a huge rise in the past 12 months. More importantly, the number of unemployed people per vacancy is the lowest ever, 1.9. Before the pandemic, it was 3.1. And the previous lowest was 2.6 before the GFC. It's happening because of the combination of massive pandemic stimulus boosting demand and closed borders reducing the supply of labour. A couple of things flow from this. First, businesses are now reporting real problems finding staff. And in some industries, it's holding back production, so they can't meet demand. And second, the current level of job vacancies is actually consistent with 3% unemployment. Now, nobody thinks the unemployment rate is going to fall to 3%, especially the Reserve Bank. Its last forecast for unemployment was 4.5% by December next year, but that looks way too high. The way things are going, it'll be 4.5% in December this year, and it's likely to be well under 4 a year later. That means wages are likely to start rising earlier and faster than the RBA expects, and so will inflation. And that means higher interest rates earlier than the RBA says, which is 2024. And by the way, if you're looking for a job, most of the vacancies are in healthcare, 47,700, accommodation and food services, 38,200, retail, 34,300, and construction, 29,900. And where should you not bother looking? Well, the least number of jobs is in the category called media and telecommunications, 3,700. And I'd say they're all in telecommunications.
That's the job vacancies and the figures that have been put out. And as you can see that there has been an increase in the number of vacancies that are out there. Well, don't try and get into media and publishing because that is where the least number of jobs are. It is a very competitive market out there. Well, right now it's time to take a look from a message from our sponsors, GlobeNet Realty. And don't forget that on Wednesday we have the real estate update with GlobeNet Realty.
GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
Hello everyone, my name is Ishana Chandra and I would like to invite you to Gopia Queensland's India Day Fair at South Bank Piazza on the 15th of August. A free, fun-filled family event celebrating India's independence, a new venue and bigger, bolder programming. See you all there!
And young Isana there, try inviting everyone to Gopia Queensland's India Day Fair, which will be on 15th of August at Roma Street, Parklands. Well, right now, let's take a look at some of the other functions and events taking place. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, those are the functions and events taking place. But as I had said before, that over the weekend, we were fortunate enough to witness the Eswaraya Kalaikodum's annual concert. And this year, the theme was Siv Sakti, and it was a wonderful presentation. I'll show you some glimpses of some of the dances. as I mentioned, that was presented by the Eswaraya Kalaikodum, and it was on Siv Sakti. And until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. It's wonderful to have your company once again, and always so good to see you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a presentation of Australian Indian Radio, live streamed by Chentex Multimedia, presented by you, Ms. Chandra. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. So, closing off the season now, it is 16 degrees and sunny and looking absolutely beautiful out the window. If I look out the window from our studios, it's just a beautiful scenery out there. But once again, thank you so much for being with us, and all the feedback as well, because that is very, very important for us. That way we can mold the program to be better. So right now, until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rest of today. Most importantly, observe those rules. Friday's not too far away, and remain safe.